These days, I feel like I am so strapped for time, and that in turn leads to a lot of stress, especially around my house and getting stuff done around the house. If we haven't met before, my name is Sophie from Sophisticated Organization. I am a mom of a toddler. I am pregnant right now, due with my second baby, going to have 2 kids under the age of 2, and I'm a full-time attorney. I also am a YouTuber and a content creator. I actually have 2 YouTube channels, Sophisticated Organization here, where I talk all about organizing and productivity, motivation, as well as Sophisticated Motherhood, where I talk about motherhood type content. So all of that to say, I am quite busy, as I'm sure most of you are watching this. We're all stretched in so many different directions these days, and that oftentimes leads to overwhelm and stress when you think about having house tasks and things to do on top of those other responsibilities. Because in my mind, those things come first. Being a wife, being a mother, my jobs, all of that comes before vacuuming. But that being said, it still needs to get done at some point. So I want to share with you some ways that I have kind of hacked the system to make the most out of my time and to make some stress-free home habits. I'm going to start with one of the biggest things that you can do and the largest impact you can have on hacking your time, and that is to have some sort of a routine. It doesn't have to be those complicated morning routines or evening routines, but I more so mean having an idea of when you get typical tasks done. Maybe it's creating some sort of a cleaning schedule. If you have a routine with your family once you get home from work, a series of events that you do that kind of trigger the next actions. That way you're not going to be forgetting stuff. You're not going to be using all of your mental capacity to go through all of the items that need to get done around the house, because with a routine, they're going to become second nature. The more you practice that routine, the easier it's going to feel. So if you're listening to me right now and you're thinking, I have no routine whatsoever, whether it's the weekends or the evenings or the morning or just in general, the best thing that you can do is start to do a little bit of a brain dump with the items that you have to get done and putting them into buckets of when it makes the most sense for them to happen. Don't overdo this. You don't want to make this too complicated at the beginning, but start with a few things that you want to implement at certain times and build that into your routine. Write it down, maybe post it on your refrigerator, schedule it into your phone calendar or wherever your family uses another calendar system. That way you'll have that reminder until it becomes second nature and becomes part of your routine. I mentioned putting things into your phone calendar. Something that can be extremely helpful is scheduling things and treating it like it's an appointment. Think about exercise, or maybe if you're religious and you go to church or a synagogue or something like that, having a specific time that you do that every week or multiple times a week will trigger that routine, and scheduling it, actually penciling it down into your calendar or typing it out into your calendar, whether you use a physical or digital calendar, having that schedule is another way to solidify your routine. I don't want to spend the entire time talking about routines because I think that's a whole separate thing that we can dive into, and creating routines isn't that big of a hack in my mind, but it is very helpful to make the most out of your time. The real hack is to prioritize, and prioritize in a specific way. Prioritizing can be helpful just going top to bottom, the most important to the least important, but I like to think about things in a sense of what has to be done today, what actually needs to get done. There's some sort of a deadline tied to it for a specific reason. Maybe there's a penalty associated with it. Like if you don't pay your bills, you're gonna have some sort of a late fee. Or if you don't sign your child up for fill in the blank activity by a certain date, they won't be able to participate. That's very different from you didn't wipe down your bathroom countertops. That can wait until tomorrow. So knowing the difference between those two types of priorities is key. Maybe you can come up with a little symbol if you're making a list in your to-do list of things that have to get done by a specific date. And there probably aren't that many things in your life on a day-to-day basis that fall into that category. There is another way that you can look at it as well, beyond the top to bottom, most important to least important, because that idea is going to vary person to person. What's the most important important and what's the least important. I think including your mental health and what makes you feel stressed out in your home as a top priority to take care of versus something that doesn't bother you and hopefully doesn't bother the rest of your family as much if it doesn't get done that day can be a lower priority. That's a great way to think about it because we're trying to reduce the stress at home, hit the big ticket items with the small amount of time, the small amount of free time that we all have. So for me personally, a great example is that I value having a clean kitchen. I struggle a lot if I wake up in the morning and come downstairs to all of last night's dishes and just a huge mess. It kind of grosses me out having the dishes sitting out and food. It makes it actually harder to clean oftentimes. It's something that bothers my husband less. He has other things that are a higher priority for him that he needs to get done to feel at peace in our home. But for me personally, cleaning the kitchen at night is, for the most part, a non-negotiable and higher up on my priority list. I mentioned my husband there and how he has some differences in the way he looks at stress around the house and things that need to get done. We both view the world differently, as every single person does. But the important thing is, if you are sharing your space with anybody else, whether it's a child or a spouse or a roommate, whatever the situation is, if you don't live alone, you need to work as a team. Though you may have different priorities and different stressors like my husband and I do, work together to see how you can support one another to get those tasks done. Help each other. He helps me get the dishes done because he knows that's important to me. I help him do other tasks that I know are important to him. We also have the added factor of having a young child. I include our 1.5-year-old in this concept of working as a team. I love to incorporate him into cleaning. He is now one of the biggest little helpers. He loves loading laundry up. He can load all of the laundry up and works to fill up that washing machine while I can do something else in the laundry room. He really enjoys participating in that. So if you have a child as young as mine, you truly can start getting them involved in the things around the house. You don't necessarily have to wait until it's nap time or wait until they go to bed to get stuff done. There's also the added benefit of having your children, whatever age they are, see the tasks that you're working on around the house. I think it's beneficial for them to realize the effort that it takes to maintain a house and to see you doing those things, because they'll also start to emulate them if they're younger, or if they're older, hopefully you can get them involved and they can start taking care of some things on their own, especially cleaning their room or other tasks around the house. The other thing that I think is critical to understand when you're feeling really stressed out, at least for me, I sometimes feel the need to do everything all at once and want to start multitasking. There are so many studies out there that talk about the fact that when you multitask, it actually decreases productivity in general, but it also decreases the quality of your work. If you think about wanting to listen to a podcast and sending out a bunch of emails, your brain is being pulled in two different directions. There's no way you're properly absorbing all of the auditory information that you're listening to and typing a succinct, grammatically correct, and email that you're probably going to be satisfied with sending. I try to think of it as mixing one task that requires my brain and another task that requires my body. So when we're thinking about cleaning, because that really is one of the things that needs to get done around the house, at least for me, I can use that time to watch one of my favorite TV shows. I can load the dishes at night and catch up on a show from last night. Or I can fold laundry and listen to a podcast and use my brain to absorb that information while my body is doing something else. But being pulled in the same direction, having your body do two things at once, is basically impossible. And having your mind pulled in two different directions is just going to end up with a work product that you are not happy with. It's also something to think about in general at home with your cell phone, whether you're scrolling social media or with TV, and focusing on the conversations that you might be having in your family, having some time to put things away. I find that separating out that time between the things that need to get done that are stressing you out around the house versus your free time, whatever whatever that is. That might be like me, spending time with my kids or my husband, or you might want to spend time with your friends. And you can truly unplug when you have this routine that you've scheduled, you've prioritized it, you're working as a team and you're not multitasking, you're just getting one task done at a time, unless of course it's a separate mind and body activity. And that way you'll be able to relax and enjoy the gift of having some free time. I know that with my prioritizing and going through that list, there are things that I can let go. I can let those things go and say, you know what? Today I did the best that I could. I had my routine. I stuck to it. We worked as a team. There just wasn't enough time in the day. And guess what? That happens all the time. But if it's prioritized properly and I get down to those items, I can say, you know what? I can do that tomorrow and it's completely fine, because that happens to all of us. You just want to make sure those things that happen tomorrow are things that you're actually okay with rolling over to the next day. So those are some of my hacks and tips to keep your time at home stress-free, make the most out of your time at home. Hopefully this was helpful. I am a part of the Get Organized HQ Virtual Summit this year, and there are some other great creators and YouTubers that are speaking at this conference. I will link an entire playlist where there are some others who are also talking about some stress-free home hacks, lots of different fun, exciting things. So make sure to check out those other videos. I would love if you subscribe to my channel if you are new here and coming over from one of those other channels. Like I said, I have lots of organizing and productivity content and would love to see you back for another video. But until next time, I will see you all later.